So that's the latest thing. Yeah, in the Wall Street Journal, you saw I guess the Canadian runner who had a lot of success in this in the Olympics. He claims that, by taking the high dose of bicarb, that helped him achieve, this Olympic result. And I was actually talking to Brenda Martinez's husband, Carlos Handler. He's her coach. She's a multi-time Olympian in the 800 and 3,000 meter, I believe. And I've worked with her throughout her career. And yeah, he and I discussed it, and all bicarb is nothing new. Cyclists and time trials have been using bicarb forever. I mean, and part of the protocol, you talk about GI distress, most of the protocols say start 3 to 4 hours prior to your time trial, take, almost, a gram, 500, a half a gram to a gram or more every 15 minutes leading up to 1 hour before your event, and taking it while you're doing your warm-up. I also have motocross athletes on these protocols, and yeah, it alkalizes the more than just the blood, because it alkalinizes the cells, and you got to remember there's a lot of acid-based physiology going on there that why you do the bicarb, and there's many studies that show it works, not many studies showing cellularly what's really going on.
Yeah, let me go back and resimplify this for the audience, because we're talking about acid and alkalizing. Okay, people need to keep in mind that you don't go acidic, you don't go basic, because there's all this popular health spheres talking about that. You're putting an acid load or an alkaline load in, and then it's immediately buffered. Your body has these protective mechanisms to keep the pH at the right one, because if you got too acid or too alkaline, you're dead.
Yeah, that's the whole myth. Yeah, I don't know why people think, oh, I got to be alkaline. Yeah, no, you don't. You just it's called homeostasis for
exactly. Yeah. Now, lactate at a certain level is not only benign, but your heart, your liver, your kidneys can deal with lactate just fine, and even use it as an energy source.
Right.
Right. But it's rate limited. And after that rate is exceeded, you start to accumulate lactate in the blood, which puts on a acid load that's buffered. And
into the cells,
right. And this sodium bicarb is adding extra alkaline buffers, to buffer that load, so you can handle a higher load. Now, what we're doing at OFM, I, and the athletes we collaborate with, we're taking a little different approach. Not that you can't use that, but it's like, let's first try to control the lactate you're producing.
That's I mean, there's two things there. In my experience, I've used bicarbonates in the past, and in my experience, when they're used right, it's hard to use it right. Most people who use it they don't really get it. But when you do a long enough loading protocol and you do it correctly, basically what happens at VO2 max is it doesn't increase your power. The studies, conclude that you don't really increase your power output per se, but mentally, when you get to that pain threshold, you can handle that pain threshold a bit longer than if you hadn't taken the bicarbonate. And it's kind of weird. It's just a cerebral thing almost. It just lets you stay at some pain threshold you probably wouldn't stay at quite as long. And that's, I think, the best way to explain the bicarbonate effect. So in, sprinters that spend, 70 to 80% of their race at VO2 max, like, Usain Bolt and, Brenda Martinez, and in these sprint races, that makes a huge difference. In time trials, it makes a huge difference for shorter time trials. I don't know, I'd have to look at the literature on longer ones, but, for really high sprint in track racing,
pure anaerobic, it makes that difference of, you know, in cycling, it makes a big difference because anytime you can make just a small difference in cycling, you get results, you know, and anytime you get a small difference in running or ultra running, it doesn't make that big of a difference. It makes, I mean, I'll back up and fine, 100 meters, 200 meters, short distance, absolutely. Small gains produce large results. In cycling, you know, people are winning by seconds, you know, after 20 hours of racing. All that makes a difference, you know, but it, you know, in the longer races and recreational races, you know, it's hard to say if the bicarbonate loading really, you know, is worth the squeeze. Hard to say. I think it's a good marketing deal, but that's my take on it.